Greetings to you all following us on this live stream of the Productivity Z 360 Expert Talk, the second edition for the year 2024. I'm very happy that you've been patient with us. We had some technical hitch and therefore couldn't hold the program earlier as we had planned at 10 o'clock this morning. We were supposed to then start at 15 hours this afternoon, but we still had some technical challenges, and our team have now worked around the clock to ensure that we can go live, except we've lost some minutes in our show. But we couldn't get this opportunity pass by because in this show this afternoon, we're joined by Mrs Chipego Zulu Chileshe, who's going to speak to us on this show. And so, without much ado, I will call her to come on to the show and be able to give us a very short introduction of herself. She has many interests, I know, but probably she will share with us one or two and what her plans are in terms of what she's doing for 2024. Then she'll get right ahead and discuss her topic for the day. You're most welcome, and thank you very much for your patience. We look forward to a very, very engaging and exciting show. Over to you, Mrs. Chileshe.
Thank you so much, Director. It's truly a privilege to have been invited to share my views on this show. I'm sure for those who know me, I do wear many, many hats. However, for today, I am focusing on my manufacturing hat. So currently, I am a trustee of the Association of Manufacturers. Prior to that, I was a vice president. I've had a very long stint in the manufacturing sector. At some point, I was a chief executive officer of the same, and having started as an intern actually at that association. So over the last 12 years, I think I've had quite a number of perspectives when it comes to micro, small, and medium enterprises, productivity, the work that's being done all around from the public sector perspective through to the private sector across some very different sizes and types of manufacturers in order to ensure that we're all contributing sustainably to national development. So that's a brief background on me. As a mother of one at the moment and currently married, I think productivity also plays an important role in terms of being able to manage from a work-life balance perspective and ensuring that competing interests are all able to be met, right? From family right the way through to work. So without any further ado, I think I'll just go straight into it and say, once again, thank you for this opportunity. So productivity has always been an important topic for the manufacturing sector. For our large scale, our medium scale, and our small manufacturers, it really has been and continues to be at the top of our agenda when it comes to our ability to maximize profit, but also to serve our consumers better. And in line with that, I think it's always important to note that productivity is pertinent to the growth of the sector. And we deal with a number of stakeholders from the public sector to the people who work in our factories, to our consumers, all of which rely on our capability to deliver our product on time, in full, and to meet the demand that arises from the same. Now, when it comes to micro, small, and medium enterprises, I believe that there is a very strong realization, not only from ourselves as an industry association representing over 350 manufacturers across different subsectors, that productivity is really what will drive our ability to achieve a sustained growth in the manufacturing sector for starters, but also enhance our contribution to national growth. And when we look at, for instance, the current environment we're operating in, there's a lot of pressure on the system to generate more resources. And our SMEs play an important role as a key engine to ensuring that we are continuously able to generate resources, maintain them and their circulation in Zambia, and ensure that the big challenge that we have, for instance, with respect to economic stability, is managed effectively. So SMEs have a crucial role to play in national development, and their importance really cannot be underscored. And therefore, if we are looking at accelerating, for instance, job creation, and accelerating wealth creation for Zambians, the logical approach is to ensure that where majority of Zambian citizens sit, which is in micro, small, and medium enterprises, we are as productive as possible. Now, I just want to highlight here that, of course, our Vision 2030, our 8th National Development Plan, all recognize the important role that manufacturing and value addition play to overall economic growth. And they also recognize that there are some enabling factors that need to be put in place to ensure that we're maximizing this outcome. So when we look at productivity and industry as a whole, of course, we draw from many jurisdictions on the definitions and so on, but I'm sure that this program has tackled significantly definitions around productivity, being the custodian of the Ministry of Labor. But there are aspects of innovation and what we do around innovation, efficiency, education, and infrastructure. Now, for our micro, small, and medium enterprises, I think quite often, especially when we talk to stakeholders in the market, or when we're trying to promote our Zambian products, I think quite often you'll hear a comment that's very common actually when we're speaking of manufacturing. You don't even manufacture toothpicks, for instance. But I challenge our stakeholders who are watching this show to recognize that the extent of manufacturing, even or value addition by our micro, small, and medium enterprises, extends across a number of industries, a number of complex processes, and also a concerted effort to enhance innovation in the sector. So you'll find we have SMEs involved in agro-processing, for instance, one of our fastest growing sectors. And innovations that have come in there in recent years, I think you can see there are so many new value-added agricultural products, be it in the beverages subsector, in the confectionery, in the generally food and drink as well, have demonstrated that innovative technologies are being adopted to transform your baobab fruit into mabuyu drink, for instance. And that's our SMEs. Our SMEs are investing, they're developing new products, and they are creating more employment through enhanced investment in value-added activities. So in line with that, I think it's important to note that to foster more productivity and an innovation culture, there's always need to invest in research and development from both the private sector and the public sector side. And when it comes to education and skills development, in order to foster this innovation culture, I think we've definitely seen an acceleration or a shift in terms of investments from the public sector to ensure that, for instance, there's more investment going into technical and vocational skills under TVETA, for instance, and creating more innovative entrepreneurs who can provide and create solutions for the Zambian market. We also see innovation coming in from the Ministry of Technology and Science, which is really looking at enhancing access to internet, for instance, which is a growing sector as well, and is contributing with the young generation now that's coming up to ensuring that digital transformation is front and center of what small-scale manufacturers are doing. So access to information is really fostering a new environment within which small and medium enterprises can really dig into available data, dig into available practices in order to enhance innovation within their own institutions, but also implement processes that could eliminate waste, for instance, and contribute to cost reduction from a company side, but also result in a more cost-effective final product for you, the consumer, on the other side of the conversation. So There's a lot to discuss when it comes to MSMEs and innovation. However, I'll move very quickly to something I touched on in my previous submission and looking at education and the role that it plays in enhancing productivity. So quite often when we talk education, we're talking skills development and curriculum amendments, for instance. And the more recent amendment to the curriculum, the national curriculum, I think we saw a concerted effort to shift towards not only promoting STEM subjects, for instance, but also mainstreaming the technical and vocational aspect further within the education system. And that speaks to human capacity and capital development. So, in order for us to become more productive, we have to be knowledgeable about what we are trying to do, and we have to become skilled, more technical in how we deliver the value addition that we are doing as manufacturers or small scale industries, for instance. So this is across the board. I've always been an advocate of investing in education and creating the future generation and the future type of, I don't want to say employee, I'll speak to employers who will create innovative, high value solutions and products for our market. So this speaks to from primary school right the way through to tertiary education, PhD level. Investments in education have a profound effect on how quickly we can accelerate or how we can accelerate productivity in our country. I believe it also gives us a different perspective when it comes to how we tackle different problems or different opportunities when you have insights on how to solve a problem. So it's really, I think I'd like to commend the efforts that are being put in when it comes to advancement of free education, for instance, across the board from primary to secondary school, because that is a social investment that will ultimately contribute to the development of human capital in Zambia that is very responsive to the changing trends and economic development at both the local level, domestic, regional, and even international levels. So the fourth component I'll speak about is apologies, I'm getting a bit thirsty. But the third component I'll speak about is efficiency, and then I'll talk about infrastructure. Now, efficiency in any production process is so key, not only to reducing the cost of production, but ensuring that we're maximizing the time that our labor spends in producing a product. Essentially, it's about cost reduction and also delivering a product that's of high quality. When it comes to efficiency, I believe for SMEs, it's very important to be fully aware of how much time it takes, for instance, to produce one product, for one worker to produce one product, and to see how best to cut that time down. I talked about technology earlier, but it's such an important tool to enable our small scale manufacturers to track what the labor that we are hiring is doing. And beyond that, to ensure that it's being used or to the most productive, it's being put to the most productive use and delivering for the company and for the consumer as well. So when you look at industrialization and the importance of efficiency therein, I think it speaks to being able to address some of the inequalities that we see, especially for instance in least developed countries. It gives opportunity to enhance flexibility in responding to different impacts, I'll call it external effects of the economy on the country. But when we discuss efficiency in the context of productivity, especially for SMEs, the key takeaway, I believe, is to ensure that we're able to track what we're able to do with a certain amount of labor within a certain amount of time, and ensure that we put in place processes and procedures that ultimately cut down that time and ensure that we maximize the final product. This should not be, however, an excuse to compromise on quality. Quality always remains key for a manufacturer, be it small scale, medium, or large, in retaining your customers, in ensuring that you are able to respond to their needs, and ensuring that you're constantly able to grow your business. So, efficiency. I think we have advocated as an association for, amendments to legislation, for instance, under the Zambia Public Procurement Act, and imploring government to buy more Zambian products and mainstream them in government ministries and agencies, for instance. We've had successes as well and developments in the mining sector in trying to ensure that our SMEs, our manufacturers, medium and large, are able to tap into these markets and into these, essentially off-takers of our product, as a way of ensuring that we're constantly feeding into the economy and growing our SMEs. However, in order for us to maintain what the policy changes have put in place, i.e., an enabling environment, it actually requires for us to be able to meet the demand and to meet it on time. And what that means is heavy investment in efficiencies, ensuring that as a firm, we're able to be as productive as possible and transition from being, not able to supply on time, providing many excuses, to really looking at ways in which we can consolidate our efforts as small and medium enterprises to tap into these larger markets, be it government or the mining sector, and ensure that we're really generating this wealth that can subsequently be invested in our economy and foster the growth of the same for the sake of the future of us. Ultimately, it's about the future of our children, right? And finally, I'll speak to infrastructure as a key component of productivity, and something that as SMEs we need to be keenly aware of is, what infrastructure we have in place to support our business. And this looks at, what's our distribution network, what communication channels are we utilizing? Are we tapped into social media? Are we using e-commerce, for instance, as a way to enhance our sales, to market our business? Do we have adequate energy supply? And what do we need to do in order to ensure that we are minimizing the amount of lost time in our production facilities? So with that in mind, I think there's always a conversation around energy and electricity, the impact on small-scale manufacturers or manufacturing as a whole. And obviously, from an energy perspective, there are opportunities then for investment in a steady supply of power. We know at a macro level, government has been making those investments through and through and continues to make those investments. However, as we move along, I think there are always opportunities to see how best we can incorporate new technologies, alternative sources of energy, in order to ensure that our plants are not as adversely affected should we have a power cut, for instance, that results in either an impact on your machinery, loss of production time, amongst other things. So infrastructure and technology, always a key consideration. And I think from a broader policy perspective, there's been a concerted effort to develop structures like industrial yards to include more local investors and manufacturers as small and medium enterprises in multi-facility economic zones. And this is in recognition of the need to have adequate infrastructure to support productivity and ensure that we are maximizing our output. Ultimately, this all speaks to the ability of our companies to respond and thrive and contribute to Zambia becoming a prosperous middle-income country. We're aiming for 2030, of course, with concerted efforts. Still a long way to go, but I believe the investments that are being made and continuously are being made will contribute further to advancing productivity, especially for SMEs in the manufacturing sector. So, Director, I've talked a lot. You saw me briefly running out of breath there. So, I invite you to come back on if you're still available.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Mrs. Chileshe. I like the way you have handled this otherwise very complex subject. When you're talking about productivity on its own, it's a very broad subject. And when you bring in the angle of MSMEs, that is also another very wide area on its own. And I've noted that in your opening of your presentation, you had made reference to the 8th National Development Plan, and actually did indicate that as a country's blueprint for development, it has actually emphasized on the role of the manufacturing industry on one hand, as well as the contribution that the micro, small, and medium enterprises would have to make in this particular arena. In fact, we are very excited because government already had designated a whole ministry to now be in charge of small and medium enterprise development. And just before the close of last year, 2023, a policy dedicated to small and medium enterprises was actually launched. This gives us a lot of hope for the MSME sector, especially those in the manufacturing, and especially that the ATNDP and other high-level pronouncements have actually made reference to the need for value addition. You've also brought out in your discussion the need for innovation, that innovation is what is going to help small and medium enterprises be relevant to the economy. You've also stressed the importance of education, and I'm also very happy that you brought out issues such as access to information, because in this new era in which we are, the information age, we should not leave the small enterprises. In fact, they are the ones that should drive innovation in this area because they are closer to the people. They provide mostly services that are directly consumed by the people. And so, with the rest of the economy digitalizing, we shouldn't leave the small and medium enterprises out of this. I'm happy that we brought out these issues, and like I said, to be able to do justice to this topic like you've done requires quite a lot of, I think, on your part, a lot of organized thinking. But then in the few minutes that we have, minding that we started the show late, I would ask that probably you can now summarize your thoughts on this subject as well as give a conclusion.
Thank you so much. So my thoughts on MSMEs and productivity is really, as I stated, MSMEs are the engine for growth, and so key to national development. So from an association side, from the Manufacturers Association side, I think what will be key for us going forward is continuing to advocate for policy reform to further support micro, small, and medium enterprises. And part of that is really talking about access to finance and innovative products around financing. Of course, the various measures have been introduced that I believe SMEs should really be taking advantage of, from the CDF to financing products that are being tailored, for instance, to women, to the opportunities available under the Citizens Economic Empowerment Commission. All of these create opportunities for SMEs to access financing, to reinvest in their plants and their factories, and to scale their production. This is important. SMEs hire 1, 2, 3, even 10 more people. It really creates an exponential impact when it comes to contribution to the growth of the economy. Aside from that, I think final thoughts when it comes to productivity and advancing it is obviously to always think about how we handle our labor, and to be equitable in our approach to how we implement our policy when it comes to labor management, and ensuring that on the one hand, yes, there's productivity in terms of the ability of your factory to produce more product. but on the other hand, to ensure that we're treating fairly our employees. And I know Ministry of Labor as a custodian of key legislation around labor, social services, amongst other things. There are obviously a number of concerns or a number of submissions that you receive around, for instance, minimum wages, as well as other measures that may have been introduced by the ministry. I think what's key, even when we are looking at SME development, is yes, there's legislation in place. As much as possible, we must strive to comply with the same. And where there are concerns and any sort of input that we require to provide to the Ministry of Labor, that we're able to table those through appropriate platforms to encourage really our SMEs that you're doing a good job so far. However, there's still a lot more work that we need to do in order to ensure that you're not only making or generating a livelihood for yourself, but that you are growing as a business and that you become one of the regional powerhouses. It's a dream, but it's very possible, and that has been demonstrated by some of our manufacturers who started off very small and made the necessary investments in innovation, efficiency, infrastructure, technology to ensure that now they're performing at the highest level at a regional in the regional space. So it's not impossible. To the SMEs out there, it's very much possible. Reach out, find out the information, utilize the tools available, and we can walk this productivity journey together and ensure that we're doing the most that we can for our country. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mrs. Chileshe. What a way of closing such an exciting discussion, giving hope to the micro, small, and medium enterprises that indeed, yes, you can be like what you've always expected, be the engines of economic growth. If others also have done it, there's nothing that stops you from doing it. And especially that now the environment is right. Mrs. Chileshe has given a reference to the self-empowerment opportunities for financing, business linkages, and business support services that are currently available from within government and from other stakeholders. So this gives us a lot of encouragement. And from the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, of course, we are very happy to always be part of this discussion in terms of how can we have our MSMEs creating jobs, and not only jobs, but decent jobs, jobs that eventually are going to lead to improved livelihoods of our workers. We want our workers to be able to have a safe working environment, a very productive environment. They should have social security. They should also have rights, their rights at work also being respected. And also we are there to support the employers as well to ensure they create this enabling environment. Mrs. Chileshe, for want of time, would have gone on this discussion, but I'm very happy that early in the year, you've given us a starting point, and I think this shall be the theme throughout this year in terms of how do we support the micro, small, and medium enterprises for them to take center stage as we drive and transform the economic development agenda of this country. I want to take this opportunity to thank you, Mrs. Chileshe, and for those that did not take note of her introduction, Mrs. Chileshe is, I must say, a manufacturing guru, an enthusiast of manufacturing sector. She's been in the manufacturing sector from her years as CEO of the Zambia Association of Manufacturers. She's still in the manufacturing sector. In fact, now she's has a very interesting role in one of the multinational manufacturing companies. And we're very happy, Mrs. Chileshe, that you're still around this sector and you're able to continue making these valuable contributions to the sector. On behalf of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, the hosts of this talk, I want to take this opportunity also to thank our followers who've been very faithful and very patient, especially for today. We hope that going forward, you're going to be with us on this journey as we share expert views on the subject of productivity as it affects the different areas of our lives. We call it a 360 talk because productivity impacts every area of our life. So whether it is in manufacturing, whether it is mining, whether it is agriculture, etc. Virtually every sector of the economy, I think, is scattered for. Hence, us calling the Productivity Z 360 Expert Talk. We will be back again on the first Tuesday of next month, as always, with another very exciting show for today. We're most grateful, Mrs. Chileshe, for being available. We hope to call you for some more engagements since today time did not allow us to exhaust this particular subject, but we shall engage in future to also talk about something related to this particular topic. I want to thank you most sincerely for making time to appear on this show. I want to thank our followers and those that joined us on this live show. Others are going to stream this recorded version of the show later on. Please send through your comments that are going to help us be able to improve how we organize this show. With that said, thanks a lot, and please enjoy the rest of the month and have a very, very productive month of February. Thank you. Bye-bye.